Thanks, Sarah.
Hello, my name is Adeline Bierk, and I'm a PhD candidate at the University of South Florida in the Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering and a fellow of the USF NRT Strong Coast. My research is based in the coastal city of Tamatave, Madagascar, where centralized pipe water is not always affordable or reliable, creating a demand for supplemental, decentralized self-supply water systems, a common occurrence in low-income countries. In Tamatave, these supplemental systems frequently take the form of a manually driven well point and locally manufactured pitcher pump that serves a household or small group of households. These pitcher pumps are traditionally built with lead components, which contaminate the water and pose a range of health risks. In order to develop a sustainable solution to protecting health, my team of engineers, social scientists, and community organizations developed a social marketing campaign targeting pitcher pump technicians who manufacture, install, and repair the pumps. Considering this project and engaging with local pump technicians, organizations, and government, to name a few, there are two main aspects that come to mind. The first is the balance between scientific rigor and the applicability at the field level. What I mean by this is you can plan an amazing study with all the science behind it, but chances are that at the field level you are going to run into a barrier that you hadn't planned for and will have to make an immediate decision. I find that the key is to plan but also be flexible and try to keep track of these events to help keep the rigor that you need within your study. The second is the concept of social desirability bias. This refers to one's tendency to answer questions in a manner that will be viewed favorably by others. Though we try to foresee and mitigate this bias, it is still present within responses, such as technicians indicating they will never use lead in pump, as they know that is the goal of the project, even if it is not true, as seen in follow-ups with pump owners who technicians have worked with during this project. This is something we are still trying to account for within the work. Stakeholder and community engagement takes time and introduces new complexities, but is well worth the effort. Thanks.
Thank you. Do you want to just open it up now for questions? Any questions for Adeline or for others in the session? And again, you can unmute yourself or raise your hand or put it in the chat, whatever you prefer.
I've got a question for you, Adeline. Thank you so much for your presentation. You sort of mentioned this balance between scientific rigor versus applicability. Have you found that it's necessarily a trade-off? Do you lose one against the other, or is it kind of finding a win-win where there's an adequate amount of scientific rigor whilst also being able to ensure that there's applicability to the technicians, to the stakeholders?
Yeah, so it's definitely, I don't think it's one or the other. I think there is kind of trying to find that balance. I know within our team, like we have a lot of meetings, so I'll meet with my team here at USF and we'll come up with a plan, and then we have a call the next day with the team that's in Madagascar in the field, and they're like, that's not gonna work. Can you think about it from this perspective? So then we'll like talk through it with them to try and come up with the best solution before even trying to like go to the field. But even in the field, I definitely have to keep following up with questions and like to make sure that I've captured any changes that happened in the field. So for instance, one of our studies right now, as part of this, not necessarily with the technicians, but we're collecting like a recruiting method, and it changed while in the field. Like they were at the clinic one day and they're like, oh, we're not getting any people. So we're going to also do the siblings of the people that qualify. And so then, you know, you have like a decreased sample size based on like the test available for the age you wanted, but you still have that data. And so it's kind of like, yeah, keeping track of it, I think was definitely the key so far within our work, but I think there is like a middle ground.
I have a follow-up on that, just because your response, you laid out an approach that I guess I've thought about a lot, but I haven't really engaged in, which is the two separate groups working simultaneously, and versus, you know, the research group kind of being in the field with the stakeholders and getting that immediate feedback. And I'm certain there's pros and cons to both approaches, and so I'm curious how that translational piece has gone for you, and if you feel that that's working, or if it would just be easier if all the scientists were in the field with the stakeholders and getting that immediate feedback.
Yeah, it's been interesting. We do have a really good in-country partner, and so I do think that's key. We have good connection, and for us, even if I was the one in the field, like one that would create a lot of issues because I clearly stand out when I'm there. I'm like the pure visa, the pure white person, as people would yell at me on the street sometimes. And so they're the ones that have to go out and do a lot of this work anyway, and then the language barriers between Malagasy and French and English. So I think that from that aspect, it kind of would be the same way even if I was in the field, whereas yes, maybe it wouldn't be a day or two before I find out. I could discuss, but at the same time, I think we came to kind of like a middle ground, like we text or email, and we kind of have set up our own protocols within the two organizations to help things flow. I think if we didn't have such a good relationship with our in-country partner, and they like didn't have the right qualifications, it would make it a lot harder.
Yeah. Cool, thank you.
Well, this is Chelsea, and I have a really big picture question that I think is relevant for all of our presenters. When we're doing work that involves these very complex and global at scale kinds of issues, how did you in your project come to define who was included as a stakeholder, right? Who was considered included or excluded in who you would engage in your stakeholder engagement? And I think that's, again, a question that every presenter could try to address. How, you know, given the very global and complex nature of these issues, how did you define your stakeholders, and what was your process for decision making about who to include as a stakeholder?
I guess I can answer this one first. So within our work, I kind of came onto the project. There were people working there beforehand, so that kind of helped, one, give me some immediate connections. And then through having them and their connections and explaining it or reaching out to other organizations doing work, it kind of helped us build that network of who they recommended we reach out to or things like that. And then we also have implemented the social marketing aspect. So in part of that, with trying to come up with the like target audience of that, you do this mapping activity and return on investment with all the different groups that you foresee in the population. So that really helped us also kind of narrow our focus, but also get like this big picture look of if we were missing anything. And so we've kind of just, used that method along with reaching out to different organizations or the government and taking those recommendations to keep building outward while also trying to like keep it manageable.